years. So my first order is I'm going to call roll. Commissioner Bailey,
Present.
Commissioner Bunting,
Present.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy,
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
And then George did volunteer. He would do our invocation for me.
Yep. Okay, we'll have the invocation. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day that you've given to us, and all the praise goes to you, Heavenly Father. We ask that you would be with us through this meeting. We ask that you'd be with our men and women overseas and at home, and especially our first responders, Father, special blessings upon them. For in all things, in his name, amen.
Amen.
And then if you'll join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, the flag is behind you, commissioners. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Thank you. So our first order of business is to nominate a chairperson, and then they can take over the meeting. Do I have any nominations for chair?
I make a motion or a nomination of George Bailey for the chairperson. He served the last couple cycles, I think, pretty well. He's available during the day if the court system or the courthouse needs him. So I think he would make a good chair for us.
I nominate Chuck Murphy.
Any more nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. So how I will do this is we'll start off with Bailey and I'll do a roll call. If I can hear a yes and a no, we'll see if we have a majority for a yes on either one of the nominations. So for Commissioner Bailey for chair. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
No.
Commissioner Lumberman,
No.
Commissioner Murphy,
No.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
So for the nomination for Commissioner Murphy, Commissioner Bailey,
No.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
No.
All right, well, we do have a majority for Commissioner Murphy, so I will hand the gavel over to Commissioner Murphy.
All righty. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, you probably should come. The gavel's over here.
I can move, or we can move the gavel.
Okay, you want me to pass it down to you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's right.
I thought you could just,
Thank you,
I
John.
did forget one order of business. Could we do, before we go on to vice chair? Commissioner Smith is out of the district. So we do have to note that in the minutes that he is via
Yeah.
telecommunications.
I'm joining this meeting by telecommunications. I'm in Okeechobee, Florida. My constituents can still get a hold of me through my email or through my phone. That is published on the county website. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't we move forward? Let's see. The next order of business be election of a vice chair. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Mr. Lunderman. Lunderman, is that how you say it?
Lemmerman.
Lunderman.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? nominations be closed. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Bailey.
Oh,
All righty, well, are you reporting the vote or do I?
Oh, 3-2.
Okay, so congratulations, Commissioner Lemmerman. Then we move on. I'd like to appoint Jan Bunning as Finance Chair.
Thank you. I would accept.
And we need the consent of the majority of the board, so if the clerk could call the roll.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Bailey,
oh,
Commissioner Bunting.
Yes.
Okay, 3-2, that's passed. We need a vice chair of finance. Is that correct,
Yes,
Madam Clerk?
yes. Yes, it is.
Open the floor to nominations for a finance committee vice chair.
Well, you know what? I'll nominate Mr. Lerman as vice chair for finance since he's got a background in it.
All righty. Any other nominations? Or actually, I can appoint. So well, I'd like to appoint John Lemmerman for vice chair of finance. And ask the clerk to call the roll to approve.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Bailey,
oh,
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. So motion approved. Like to move on to approval of the agenda. I believe we have a couple items to add. Tracy, you had some to add.
Yes, Mr. Chair, excuse me, I would ask that two items be added to our agenda this evening. One is some additional work that we need to have Yo and Yo, our auditors, our accounting firm, to perform. Chris would be presenting that issue. We received notice of this just less than an hour ago, which is why it's coming to you a bit late. Because Chris is unexpectedly needing to stay to present that issue, I would ask if you would, Mr. Chair, please provide that or place that sooner on the agenda. So before the administrator's report, after consent calendar and communications, but before administrator's report.
Okay, so without objection, let's place it there. And you had another item?
I do. The second issue is the local policy regarding the COVID leave bank. That can go anywhere on the agenda. I'm presenting that. That's come up late for reasons I've indicated and can again explain later. And I've provided you each a memorandum in support of this issue. So that could be what, 05 or 06 or later in the agenda is fine.
All right, so why don't we place that under new business item 6 without an objection? And I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So move.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
second.
who motioned that?
I did.
Dan moved.
Okay.
And who second?
Nobody yet.
I'll second it.
Oh, thank you.
All righty, any discussion? All those in favor, or clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Lieberman.
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Agenda passed. Do we have anyone on the line for public comment?
I'm not seeing anybody online for public comment.
Okay, if you'd like to comment, please speak up. If you're on a cell phone, I believe you have A6 or something like that, or *6. All right, hearing nothing, let's move on. Consideration of the consent calendar, board minutes, communication, recommendation from committees. Looking for a motion to place on file, to approve.
So moved.
Second.
By John,
I'll second it.
second by Jan. Any discussion? Would include the minutes of December 15th and the communications included in the packet. All right, clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting.
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman. Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. All right, let's move on to the Yi and Yo request. I believe, Chris, you're handling that?
Yes, sir. Good evening, board. What we have, an underlying issue
Email on that.
is related to collection of taxes in the treasurer's office. Just a little background, in our most recent fiscal year that ended September 30th, our tax collections ended significantly lower than what we expected, approximately 8% lower than what we expected. And it was, in fact, lower than what we had collected the year before that, which we wouldn't expect to see as we are continuing to put different windmills, farms online and taxing them. There's been multiple department heads and directors that have questioned the former treasurer about why the expectations did not meet what we thought they would. And there was no responses or no digging into it. As you know, our audit is now underway, our financial audit. And I had spoke with Yo and Yo about potentially looking into this issue as part of the financial audit. And we received word today that they could not do that under the engagement letter that we have with them. They would have to create a new project to look at this. And what this new project would do is it would compare tax assessment databases in different departments that we have, and it would also do a comparison of the total taxes billed to the total taxes collected to see if there is an underlying issue or if we had a down year. Based on information that myself and our current treasurer's office has given to Yo and Yo regarding this issue, the audit partner there recommended that we would go ahead with a project because, in her words, it did not pass the smell test of the numbers that she is seeing, the collections, and then the disbursements to the different departments that are receiving the millages. And the reason that we bring it to you so quickly is because they will be on site starting this week. And this could be a project that they could run alongside of our financial audit. But we would estimate that this would cost somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 to perform this. And we do not know if it would be less than that. We do not know if it would be more than that, because if they run into something that requires a lot more digging, it would obviously take more time. So this is something that we felt that we should get in front of the board as quickly as possible, which just so happened to be an hour after we found out about it.
Chris, who is the actual person that's going to do this? Do you have a name of the person or the firm or?
It would be Yo and Yo,
Yeah, but who, it won't be.
the same audit team that's doing our financial audit. It would be Allie Barnes. And the lead auditor on that team would be doing a lot of the legwork for it, and his name is Max Seiler.
Mac what?
Max Seiler.
Max, oh, Max Siler, okay.
So is it an estimate of 20 to 30 hours for each of them? Is that what we're saying? Or is that a combination estimate?
That's a combination.
And your best guess is that it's probably around an additional 6,000 to 8,000.
Yes, based on the numbers that Allie provided in that email.
So, Mr. Chair, I think what we might look for is a motion by this board or approval by this board authorizing the additional expenses up to $8,000. We certainly hope it'll be more in the $6,000 range. That keeps us from having to come back to you. If it's going to exceed 8,000 as we go along, then of course we would return to the board.
Hey, Chris. Sam. Tell me this again. So something has come up from our treasurer's office to your office that we're either underpaying or we're not taking in enough money or we're paying out more on the millages, or how, I guess you've lost me in some of that. And how did that come up?
We first noticed it when looking at the winter collections in 2020. You know, they are due in February of 2020. Those are the individual voted millages. I'm going to just focus on one of them and walk you through it.
Okay.
Let's talk about the economic development, the MSU and Greater Gratiot millage.
Yep.
We estimated the millage would raise about $600,000. And every year that I've estimated what this should be, I've always been well under what we actually collected. So we thought we'd get 600,000. We got 550. So to me, that set off a red flag. Now, it also set off a red flag when we went to disperse that money to them, because they were expecting a lot more too, because they know what they should be collecting based on property values, because that's their expertise, property values.
Yeah.
There were other departments that had similar issues with what they got from the winter taxes, and we dug into it more and more. And while we could not find out exactly what went wrong, we just feel like there is something wrong, and we need to bring somebody in to actually look at it to help us figure out what it is. So if we're talking about 5 different millages at a minimum of $50,000 a piece, you know, there's
Well,
There's
my
enough-
understanding is our taxes, the paying the taxes have been running ahead. I mean, we've been getting those paid up a lot better, I think. It was my understanding along the way here from the former treasurer that they were coming in well. And so basically we have some snafu, and isn't that in there in some type of software program or something that says out of this millage here from this township, they get 2.2% or whatever that is of that millage? Could it be a software glitch, or could it be just we're not taking in enough? Or
I have some ideas, but I'd prefer not to speculate without having any concrete evidence.
And the next thing is that is Yo and Yo the people to do that work for us, being there doing our audit?
I think they would be ideal people to do that because they're familiar with the systems. They are equally interest invested in finding out if there is an issue so that they can help fix it in the financial audit also.
Okay.
And as far, I think you're looking for a potential conflict of interest, and I don't see any type of conflict of interest.
All right. That's all I want to know. Thanks.
Chris, are you saying that maybe the townships didn't send in all the money?
That
what
is a
you're saying?
possibility. I mean, that's one of the several options that it could be. I don't have the answer for it. There's multiple things that it could be. It could be paperwork issue on our side. It could be we didn't collect enough. There's several things, and that's why we'd like to bring somebody in to assist us in looking at this.
So that I understand it clearly, I thought it was Yi and Yo that wanted to do this extra work, that they found a discrepancy, or are we asking them to look for something?
The discrepancy was identified by Gratiot County and our partners that get these millages. We brought it to Yo and Yo to see if they would help us during our audit, our regular course of audit, identifying us. They said it was too big of a project. They would have to charge us more.
Well, we got to get it
And,
figured.
Okay, so it did come from us then, is what you're saying, or the request? Okay. So looks like we're looking for a motion to spend up to $8,000 with Yi and Yo to check this out. Is that what I understand? Anyone, I would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Moved by Sam. Is there a second?
Or by George.
Second by George. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. All right, next up is the administrator's report.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to you, Commissioner Lumberman. Great to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Just a few legislative items. I've been keeping you briefed on the various changes to the Open Meetings Act, and they have again made a few changes that actually loosen some of the restrictions that they previously imposed on the virtual meetings. The very simplest version of this is that the legislature has now extended the ability to have virtual meetings to meet as we have in the past for any reason, not having to show one of those three reasons, for any reason through the 31st of March, 2021. So, so that loosens some restrictions in the event that you needed at any point to have less than a quorum physically present. You can all meet virtually should you do so. And I attached some of the materials to my administrator's report. We received memoranda from our legal counsel, Dave Stoker, and there's additional explanation of this. You're aware also that the Department of Health and Human Services director signed essentially a public health order. This covered things like masking, social distancing, and a variety of things. That health order has been extended to the 15th of January, although there has been some loosening of some of the restrictions that had previously been in place. So things like high schools, casinos could open back up, some of that sort of thing. Also, there had been a bill introduced to extend your terms of service from 2 years to 4 years. That bill died in lame duck session, so that has gone nowhere for now. So you continue to be serving 2-year terms as county commissioners. Much of the activity really has been about the issues we're presenting to you tonight. We had some folks enjoy some leave time over the holidays. We had others chained to their desks doing final audit preparation over the holidays. We'll get them out of here later. I will let you know, though, that our new HR officer, Sheila Barnaby, is catching on very, very quickly. Very lucky to have her, and I want to remind you and welcome you once again to approach her if you have any HR-related needs. I think she's more than up to the task of helping you with any issues that you have. Do you have any questions for me? Excellent. That's what I have for you tonight. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's move on to Commissioners' Committee reports. I don't have anything. Go around the table. John, you have anything? You haven't attended any meetings or anything, but have anything to say?
I do not.
Jan?
I have not been at any meetings, but I do, starting the new year, will be in several. I just wanted to mention, it's been a busy time. As Sam's, who was it said that somebody passed away? Was it you, George? And
Yeah.
I also had 2 aunts that have passed away. Actually, 3 friends in 4 days. They were at the Smith Funeral Home, what my aunt was. And so anyway, it's been a kind of a sad time for me. These were aunts that were very close to me, and the last of that generation, my dad's generation, have passed on now. So that's all I've got to say.
Alrighty. Sam?
Only had one meeting, and Becky called me from North Shade, said they're gonna meet in the parking lot and take care of some business, and that's about it. So I didn't even drive out to put my car in a row to talk to them, so. We really had been to no meetings.
Alrighty, thanks. George?
We had a Zoom meeting, believe it was the 16th. Health Department bringing us up to speed on a lot of COVID and different things like that. Obviously, they're deep in making sure that everybody gets vaccinated in a timely manner. And it's kind of hard to get a lot of details. There was a lot of details in the beginning, but now it's getting kind of, the fog of war is kind of getting upon us, so I don't know exactly what's going on there. A lot of, like Sam said, a lot of my township meetings are meeting in parking lots. They're not really discussing any other business other than doing the real business of paying the bills and that. And so that's not a lot going on right now, and I don't expect a whole lot more anytime soon. So that's it.
Alrighty, thanks, George. Let's move on to new business. Next thing up is draft rules of organization for 2021.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, as a part, as an agenda item at your organizational meeting each year, this board reviews and hopefully adopts the board's rules of organization. This issue has come before this board each year at this time. The first couple of years that I was here, there was a great deal of work done on these rules to streamline them, correct some statutory citations, reduce some redundancy. The rules now, I think, are in pretty good shape, and there's really very little that I would suggest to you. There is some minor language on some of the early pages. You've answered a question. Well, I would direct this board to page 5, section 1.8, committees. If you'll let me know when you're there.
Everybody there on that page?
I don't, I've got to,
It's
I usually put my.
1.8 committees, letter A.
it's after page 48, 49.
Okay. Oh, I did staple that.
Well, perhaps without looking at it, we can, it's a fairly simple issue. These rules have for quite some time required that each committee, and this is the standing committees, special committees that may work on county business that are formed, approved of by this board, that each of those shall have both a chairperson and a vice chairperson. I'm not sure if that has been the practice. If so, we can leave it alone. Some of you who've been around a little longer, perhaps Jan, you can kind of think through, or George, think through the various committees and or do you want to continue that requirement? Is acceptable to you for some minor groups to have only a chair?
Are we talking about special committees of this board?
1.8 committees reads, there shall be, in addition to the standing committees, such other special committees as the chairperson from time to time may appoint and establish, subject to approval by the board. The membership shall be automatically, blah, blah, blah. And each of these is to have a chair and a vice chair. So, for example, at some point in the future, I may recommend to this board or roll out the idea to you that you form a compensation committee that reviews at regular intervals the salaries of your elected officials. That would be a special committee, although it would be standing, would meet at regular intervals. And that committee would presumably appoint a chairperson for that work. Is that the sort of committee that you think there should also be a vice chair? So again, that's just illustrative.
I believe just the chair would be probably plenty on something like that. They'd be fairly small committees. I don't think they would be large things, it'd be something in that order right there. You might have 3 or 4 people, whether it be people throughout the courthouse, outside people or something on a committee like that. I just think if you had one person, to be the chair of it. I don't think that like a committee like that would meet all that often. Maybe, maybe meet once a year, or we might change the next year. You kind of go through and come with a recommendation back to the board or whatever, and maybe you do it again next year and have a different committee.
I think that many of the committees have, well, some of the larger groups that meet at, on particular dates and at regular intervals do have a chair and vice chair. Right. But many of these other smaller ones, I don't know that they do. But my point about those others would be, there's probably some flexibility in when they schedule their meetings, so that they could arrange the schedule when the chairperson can be present. Now, this isn't a huge issue. I don't know if we need to spend a lot of time on it, but I think this came to my attention because sometimes these groups are fairly small, and you load them up with these officers, and so. Is it the will of the Sam has suggested we just indicate only require that these groups have a chairperson. There's certainly nothing that would prevent these groups from also electing a vice chair. But is it this board's position, as Sam has articulated, just for the sake of discussion, that that the board only require that each committee have a chairperson?
Well, I know in the past, when there used to be 7 on the board, we always had a chair and a vice chair. But I think since now there's only 5 commissioners, I think it's hard to put a chair and vice chair on it because there are sometimes a lot of meetings. And 3 of us, well, maybe 4 of us have jobs. I think Sam has a job at his funeral home. But so it's hard for us to be in a lot of committees.
I hope so, Jan. Maybe my kids have talked to you and not told me.
Do we have a consensus that this board would only require a chairperson, and that by that language nothing prevents a designation of a vice chair if that particular group wants to do so?
I think I agree with Sam on that.
Okay. Okay.
Now, Jan bringing up the number of commissioners, I would like to see us consider moving back to 7 commissioners. Because, we just talked about some problems here that you can't put any more than 2 commissioners on a committee, and we're violating Open Meetings Act.
I think you're right, but what I, like for chair and vice chair, but like say there was a meeting for the union and it used to be any of the commissioners could sit in on it because you were still in a public place. You don't discuss business and you sit apart. But also I'd like to see 7 commissioners come back. You can only do that every 10 years when the census is taken. And I think once that's done, I just think that when you have 7 commissioners, it's easier to run a county, and I think that it's easier to, communicate better. But
Well, that's nothing that we're going to be able to do. That would all be redistricting and stuff like that. I think that's done redistricting and stuff when the census are done. And that's done with, I think, the clerk, and there's a number of outside people that take care of that redistricting of our county.
yeah, it has to be, I think it's the clerk, the treasurer, and it's the
whoever.
prosecuting. Pardon?
It's nothing that we're going to be able to do and say we
No,
want.
we can't. No, we can't do it. It has to go through.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be the one, it's the Republican chair and the Democrat chair prosecuting, and the clerk and the treasurer.
May I go on or?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Okay.
please.
So,
A minor, I'm on page 7 of the document, refers to the duties of the authorities and duties of the county administrator. Those really are specified in statute. So I've made that small amendment. Change some dates on page 8. Language change on page 10 that reflects this board's process. There are many things that you do not do by resolution, and that's perfectly lawful. And again, a change of date. As I go page by page, aren't you glad that we've made these rules shorter? Going to page 12, I've added language that, and I already see a typo, but I've added language trying to capture this ability for you to meet virtually, and including the language that it has to comply with the Michigan Open Meetings Act. And I say as shall be amended from time to time, so we don't have to revise these rules every time that rule becomes or is amended, as it has been 2 or 3 times over the last month. So that language is my stab at incorporating that into the rules of organization. Deleted some language on page 13 that kind of unnecessary. Again, on page 14, just adding reference to electronic conferencing system, adding the important provision that any system that we use must allow for 2-way communication, allowing members of the public to participate and communicate with you, the board members. And then we get to page 16, which are the committee assignments. And I know that you'll be taking care of that later as an agenda item. Then the 2021 meeting schedule that I know that you will adopt. So with these changes, I'm asking for you to approve these rules of organization. Once you do, I will take out all the marking that shows what's been added and what's been deleted. I will update the table of contents and make the changes in the board and committee assignments as you determine. Other questions?
I think moving back to page 10 in the 4.8, for the public to be more easily involved in the meetings, I'd like to see us move the regular meeting from 4:30 to 5:30.
I gotta tell you, for years, it was at 7 o'clock. There was 3 meetings a month and it was a 7. And then we went to 5:30, especially because of the summertime. It was nice to get out early. And we went to 2, and then it was later on that it went down to 4:30 because the different departments always came to visit the commissioners. Usually 2 a month or 3 a month would come in and talk to the commissioners and kind of, especially new commissioners, tell them what, who was in their office, what they did and what their positions were and any needs that they had, that things that they would like to see done different or maybe some new equipment or whatever. But as you know, now we don't do that, so there's no reason to be at 4:30. Are you?
Is that in the form of a motion, Jan, to change that?
Go to 5:30?
That would be time of regular meeting 4.8. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I know people that would like to come, but 4:30, they're still working until 5 o'clock.
All righty. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chair, if I could, just by way of clarification, we do have staff that appear to present to this board from time to time. And should this board begin to meet in person, if we could retain the ability of, at their request and their convenience, for our employees to present to you remotely, should that be necessary for them to balance their work and family responsibilities.
Right. I would assume that anyone could report if we need them electronically.
Thank you.
We've been making this system work, I think.
Yes. Okay.
My only concern is that we're gonna pay our police people up front longer times to be here. There's times that they're locking up at 5:30 or whatever, and we'd be just getting here. People are still coming if we start meeting back at chambers more often. And I just think we're gonna employ more staff to do that. 4:30, you can catch people that are on their way out of work from the courthouse to come down and make a presentation, and they're on their way home versus got to go home and get geared up to come back to a meeting or virtually come into a meeting. That's just my only thought on it.
Hey, it's Sheriff Morris. Can I speak onto this, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Sheriff.
Okay. I start work at 6:30 in the morning. So if we have this meeting at 5:30 and it goes till 8 or 8:30 at night, that makes a 14-hour day for me. I don't like to come home and go back to work. I like to see my guys at 7 a.m. And Sam is right. With my security people out front, my security officer works 7:30 a.m. when employees start till 5:30 p.m. If we do that, I'm going to need one more part-time deputy to work in the courthouse to staff that till the commissioners are gone. Because usually I've been letting people out, but I don't know if I'll be able to stay till 8:30 every night.
Well, I don't think anybody's here now anyway. So if we were to meet at 5:30, once everybody's in at 5:30, they lock up anyway. Like right now, there's nobody out there. We just go out the back door.
Right, but I'm talking when the general public comes back into able to attend, Jan, then somebody has to let them out. They cannot be let out the security door. So I have to have an officer there until the meeting is complete.
Yeah, I think.
That if you get somebody that comes in at 6 or 6:15 that wants to come, and now the security's gone and you can't get in. I mean, you got to have. I think you'll have when we come back to meeting in chambers. We have people in and out that come late. They get out of work at 5 or whatever, and they're going to buzz in here at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I think it's going to be, we're going to have somebody out front. We're going to have to pay somebody to be there. I think it's not.
But when you have outside people coming in, we're here anyway till 7, 8 o'clock anyway. I mean, now there's nobody here, so we're going to be done probably an hour, hour and a half. But when the public comes, usually they have issues, and I remember being here till 9, 10 o'clock at night. But the other thing is this too, you do have gates, and you can put the gates up. like over here on the one side, and if we have to put a gate on where they go up through the stairs there, and then just leave the door open or leave it locked, and when we leave, we can all leave, go out the door, and let you know that we've left, and then they can put the alarm on.
Jan, those gates were not functioning now at the recommendation, I believe, in the insurance carrier for fire purposes. Because if you have the gates and you got a fire, they cannot get to them. That's why we do not lock the gates now. That was something that was brought up, I think, through the county's insurance company. So I'm just saying that, right now I have one full-time deputy on the door, and I have currently 4 other part-time deputies that work in the courts. And when the courts get back hot and heavy, it's hard to get part-time bailiffs and part-time security officers right now. And that's going to really put me in a bind if I got to have somebody there till 8, 9 o'clock. Now on election nights and stuff like that, I adjust hours, but for the most part, when the general public's there, they cannot go back out the back security door. They have to go out through the general entrance, which if it's alarmed, then I have to have an officer there to disarm it or rearm it or whatever.
My feelings on this, Mike, is that we only meet 24 times out of the year. And also, we always accommodate any new commissioners that come on the board. And I know that our new commissioner works till 5, can get here by 5:30. The other thing is that we could redo we can, instead of having our commission meetings here, we could have them someplace else. We could maybe, whatever you want to do, maybe go to some other area and have them. We've done that before too. But I think that, I know in the last couple of years, it seems like the commissioners are becoming very insignificant, is the word I want to use. Just like coming to this meeting tonight, I've had phone calls, I've had emails, and I've had people say that there's a virus, that we shouldn't be here, we should be Zooming in. And I got to tell you, the gyms are open, the grocery stores are open, the schools are open. I'm in and out of schools, and the only thing that's not open is restaurants. So I think that, everybody's inconvenient a little bit somewhere or another, but it's all about the vote too. I think that 5:30, more people could come. We're here for the public. I'm not here for me we do business, but the public needs to get more involved in what's going on in the county. And I think we're going to see more people once this virus is over with. And if we need to hire another person, then that's great. There's lots of people looking for jobs.
Well, it's hard to get other people, Jan. I have 0 resumes that have been turned into me in the last 9 months, 0. And that's a problem. I'm having a hard time getting part-time people to work in the courthouse when they can go get a full-time job anywhere. And that's a problem for my office. And maybe the county needs to look at maybe going back to private security manning the front door then, because I have such a hard time getting people to man the front door. I mean, it's just tough. I have one full-time guy there right now. Like I said, he's on, he comes in at 7:30 when the employees come in, and then leaves at 5:30. He works essentially 8 10-hour days in a pay period.
You just kind of hit it right there. Maybe we could do security on the nights of the county commissioners meetings. That would solve that problem. And in fact, I know the man who owns that company that used to be here. He's from St. Louis, and I'm sure that he would like to pick up, especially since so many things are closed down. That might be a great opportunity for him to take some of his people and put them over here. So that's a good idea. That is an option.
The only reason I got away from that, Jan, is because they're not armed.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the private security folks tend to be firearm certified.
Yeah. Well, I think we can argue this debate all night long. I think we just got to make it work.
Yeah. I'm not arguing about it. I'm just stating my point that, what it does for my office. Thank you.
Well, I think we appreciate your opinion, Sheriff, and maybe looking into private security, if this does pass, might be an option.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? And I would ask the clerk to call the roll, please, on the amendment to these procedures.
So I didn't have a motion to amend the procedures. I thought Jan's motion was to move the meeting to 5:30 and Mr. Lumberman second that.
Right, well, it came up
That was
in
the
here,
motion that's on the
so,
floor.
right, to move the meeting to 5:30, that's what I understand, correct?
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes,
Commissioner Lumberman,
No.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes,
Commissioner Smith,
No, this is to change to 5:30.
yes.
We froze.
Commissioner Smith, I did not hear you.
I vote no.
Commissioner Bailey,
I vote no.
okay, motion failed. One other thing I wanted to bring up, on page 12 about these meetings will be held virtually or will be held by a secure electronic conferencing. Is that the way I'm reading it?
Tracy, I think the question's to you.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, that is the way it reads. That had been the practice. So yes, but you're reading that correctly.
Well, I don't think we should be requiring these committees to meet virtually.
It's yeah, which committees? I mean,
Well, it's listing all of these. It says boards, commissions, groups.
that's correct. Advise, yes, that's correct.
so in other words,
And the Board of Commissioners. So I would entertain a motion that we strike that whole paragraph.
yes, I would make a motion that we strike this paragraph on page 12.
Page 12, item
I was looking, yeah, item 4, I see it right here. I don't think we can do that anyway, can we?
Yes, you can. I've been explaining that that's what the open meetings law allows you to do.
Well, I believe, Commissioner, aren't you objecting to the wording will meet?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that you're saying from now on, we will no longer meet in here, right? Tracy?
Well, yes, I mean, that the language is there. It will meet
So,
via a secure
if we're no
electronic
longer gonna meet-
conferencing system, currently Zoom. These
we're
remote
no longer
meetings will
gonna meet in
continue
this-
until such time as the chair of the Board of Commissioners deems in-person meetings to be permitted, considering current guidance from health department officials. But of course, the meetings must conform to the Michigan Open Meetings Act.
So why are we not doing 5:30 then, if we're not gonna be able to come in here?
Oh, that motion failed, Jan.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying is that,
It's only, the rules are only in place, what is it, to March 31st? It's under the state, the governor's mandated this to the state till the 31st. And then she'll change them again, if she may change them next week.
Or the legislature may. This has been action of the legislature.
Is that what it is? Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean,
this
the
is
rules could change,
statutory.
but now it's out to the 31st. They're telling us you got to meet this way till the 31st.
You know, this really is just, and it's up to you folks, of course. I'll just explain that, you know, we're working like crazy here to keep everybody, our staff and members of the public that come into our building and those that serve on our boards and advisory groups to just keep everybody healthy and well. And, you know, so you could change will to may, so that it's clear that we will provide the resources for that. But again, you know, this is really directed to the safety of employees, committee members, and members of the public.
I mean, my firm comes every day to get death certificates, and we don't even go to the clerk's office anymore. They put them on a table out in that little entryway for us with my name on an envelope. And I wave to the police. So we're not infiltrating the courthouse. We don't have to. And it's
Yeah.
just, I think,
And all-
I think you're doing a good job and everything, but I think that, I'm in a school every day with children and teachers, and then I go to Myers where you can't get a parking place, and then I leave there and I, maybe go to a department store, like I went to Macy's, and I think to myself, people wear masks, but I think that you guys are certainly scared to death.
I'll only respond with a couple of points, Jan. You go to school, but the school's closed down. And, again, all of this moving around, we've been asked, not to do that. And again, I just look at the case. I'm not scared to death. I just, I just read case numbers. I read CDC guidance and, and I'm just trying to respond and recommend responses that I think are responsible for you. So, that's what it's about. It's,
I'm willing to put a compromise position in there and take Will out and put May in. There's some of us here that realize that we have to be safe and do the things we need to do. The state of Michigan has provided us an avenue to do that. And so I'm willing to compromise and take Will out and put May in.
Is that an acceptable substitute, Commissioner Bunning?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And I would take that as a second.
Okay.
All righty. Any further discussion? So will the clerk let us know what we're exactly voting on?
To change paragraph 5.14 will meet to May on page 12.
All right, thank you. Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. Ready? Any other discussion on this?
Just a moment. I was looking for something that I have a question on, but
Do we need a motion to accept all other changes as Tracy has proposed?
Yeah, I think we're looking for that motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, motion by John to accept the procedures here. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Or did somebody else want to?
Second by Commissioner Bunning. Any discussion? Further discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. All right, then I think the next thing on the agenda is the meeting schedule. Which is on page 18 I have here. I have one question here. November 2nd is an election day, correct, Angie?
Not for 2021. We don't have.
Okay.
Scheduled
Nothing scheduled.
elections is Ithaca and St. Louis, so we're.
Okay. Great. All righty, so I guess we're looking for a motion to approve the meeting schedule.
So moved.
Moved by Lemmerman. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Bailey.
Bailey?
Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Passed. Holiday schedule for 2021, I believe.
Okay, I have some corrections.
I'm trying to find that here.
It's on page 50.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I'm
Jan.
going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Okay, first of all, New Year's Day is on January 1st. That's a Saturday, it's not December 31st. New Year's Eve is December 31st, a Friday. That needs to be changed, those two. And moving up, Christmas is on the 25th, not the 24th, a Saturday. And Christmas Eve is on the 24th, and that's a Friday. Are you guys following?
Really, or Bunting, excuse me, I believe that it's in our policies, I have to dig it out, that when these holidays are on a Saturday, that the holiday is provided to employees a day in advance. So that's why you see those dates there. The way they appear, I appreciate what you're saying. New Year's Day is, not it's not the last day of the month, but it's the first day. But it's when these holidays are observed.
Do you have that policy? Can you bring it to us?
Certainly, I can find that and I'll email it to you.
That's what can we then table this until we get that policy? And then also it's like the 4th of July. I think that was right. I just think Independence Day should be July 4th, saying July 4th. And if there's an extra day off, they get paid for it. Usually July 4th, if it falls on a Saturday.
It's on a Sunday.
It's on a Sunday? Okay. Yeah, that's right. I put Sunday here. Then I think we give them a choice if they want that Monday off or the Friday off. But like your Christmas Eve and stuff like that, they would be getting 3 days off. They would get paid 3 days instead of just the 2 days. And same thing with New Year's Eve. They get paid for that Friday. I see what you're doing, what you did. You were giving them Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Do they get paid for that Saturday or no?
No, of course not. No.
Okay.
What you see here, and this I believe is Angie's work, but what you see here, if you see the days of the week off to the far right column, these are work days. So it's not what day the holiday falls. I mean, obviously July 4th is on July 4th. It's simply when this building would be closed and staff are given the days off. And this really is longstanding policy.
Okay. So because I used to think that it's been a long time. I thought they got paid for the holiday, even if it fell on during the weekend, but they
No,
don't.
that's never been the case. No, that's never been.
Unless it's the sheriff's office, then you guys do. You don't?
No, Jan, we do not. If it falls on a Sunday, they get Monday off for administration. If it falls on a Saturday, they get Friday off. That's why on that holiday schedule you're seeing for that, because one of them falls on a Saturday, so they get Thursday, Friday off rather than Friday, Saturday, because administration doesn't work. And that's the same way in the courthouse. We follow the courthouse, what they do.
This has been longstanding practice.
Okay.
My guys only get straight time on holidays.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess it's been a long time. It takes a lot of years to hit the holidays on the weekends. Usually it's during the week and the only time it falls funny is when it hits on a Wednesday. Okay.
I move we adopt the holiday schedule.
Moved by Commissioner Lemmerman, that we adopt the holiday schedule as printed. Is there a second?
Or
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. Then we're moving on to adopting the established IRS mileage rate of 56 cents per mile for 2021.
I move we adopt the IRS mileage rate.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, a second.
I second it.
Second by Commissioner Lumberman. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. All righty, then we're moving on. Consideration to reappoint 2 members and the mayor of St. Louis to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Development Authority Hospital Finance Board. Oh, okay, there's a sheet on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
51.
Yep. Is there a motion on that?
Yeah, I think those guys are willing to serve. I'd make that motion that we adopt the agenda sheet there, presented.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Smith, second.
I'll support it because I do know that they've been asked, so.
Good. Then support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Smith,
Yeah.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Sam, wake up.
Hitting the wrong button. I got her.
All righty, then I think we're back to you, Tracy, on this request on the PTO COVID time.
Yeah, thank you.
Was added.
I kind of forgot about it and relaxed. So thanks for speaking of wake up. I've had a chance to speak with some or all of you directly about this issue. And I've provided you a memo in support, which I can appreciate. You might not have had a chance to get through thoroughly. The story is this. Last year, the Houses of Congress and President Trump enacted a bill, the 2020 Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And that act did a number of things. But among the things that it did is it required employers, including us, to provide an extra bank or to provide a bank of leave to our employees up to 80 hours for certain COVID-related purposes. And I've listed those for you. We had presented those to you earlier, mid-year last year as that came up, and we had briefed you on this. But by way of reminder, the purposes that begin on page 1 of my memo, and but these are COVID-related reasons. So essentially, if an employee became ill with COVID, was caring for someone with COVID, the employee was quarantined, or was caring for their child, say in the case of schools being closed or daycares being closed, there was this extra bank of leave to help employees out with that. What we did as an internal kind of mechanical issue is we added in our electronic timesheet system a line that showed the 80 hours, COVID PTO. And then when folks were needing to draw on that, and this was always discussed with department heads or much of the time with me directly, the time would be entered there. And so we could track the time that was being used. We've had a number of employees use this. I've provided you an Excel spreadsheet. It's not very pretty, but Excel never is. But it shows you the leave that folks have used. We've had 49 employees use 2,673 hours. So this has been helpful to our folks. I know we've had people quarantined. I know this because those cases and those decisions generally flow through my office. And of course, we've had parents doing homeschooling. If you want to know which employees those are, just walk through the building. They won't be here, but when they do return, they will look both haggard and thrilled to no longer be at home and having an office to escape to. That legislation expired at the end of December 31st. The new stimulus bill that has been passed and that President Trump did ultimately sign did not include or extend this COVID leave provision. Local officials like this Board of Commissioners have every bit of authority, however, to by local policy provide some leave along these lines. So you certainly have the authority to do this. And the issue for your discussion and decision is, given that this leave has been so helpful to our employees, and given that some employees do still have leave on the books, the concept is that this board approve a policy allowing staff with leave on the books to continue to have that leave on the books through the 31st of March. I am not proposing that additional time be added. I'm just suggesting that perhaps this leave line not be eliminated and folks continue to have access to any leave they might have left over. And there are several very good reasons for doing this. And again, you have the authority to do it. But COVID is not over in our community. Cases are surging, deaths are surging, schools are going to reopen, but we don't know if that will be able to continue. There are just these unknowns. But also, this has really come in handy, though, when we have staff who are determined to have been close contacts with people who have later tested positive for the coronavirus. And we've had several of these. And, we send these folks home. It's now 10 days, 10 calendar days, not working days, but 10 days. We send them home. And, we've interpreted that very broadly. And where there are close calls, we send them home. And again, everything is geared toward keeping our employees safe and keeping the public that enter this building safe. So I don't want people to, if they had to use their own leave bank, I don't want them to start thinking, oh, geez, I don't think I'm going to report this headache that I have on the health screening form when I come in. I don't think that I want to, report this shortness of breath, because I really, I've got this vacation planned, and, and I'm not suggesting that people are dishonest and lie. I just think that, we get influenced in a lot of different ways. And I've really had to push staff, if you have any kind of symptom of anything, don't self-diagnose. Because we had two folks come in, one with a headache and the other with something that he thought was a cold, and both ended up being positive for the virus. So, that's my thinking. I think it's a way to help out our employees, continue to promote safety and health as best we can. Again, I'm not asking for an additional leave bank, only to continue what folks might still have on the books, and not to continue it indefinitely, but only through the 31st of March.
All righty, well, it looks like we're looking for a motion to roll over to March 31st, remaining hours from this year on the COVID PTO.
My question is, Tracy, you got 22,080 hours that have been used. Are we reimbursed by the government for that?
No. Well, we would certainly not, hang on, we would not be reimbursed if we adopt this as a local policy.
Right, but we get, for the ones we did when they told us, for the ones that we did when they told us we were going to be reimbursed for those hours?
I'm I'm feeling a little bit unsure about that, Sam, and so I don't want to guess. I don't want to guess. I could check with Chris and get back with you on that.
My understanding was that when they put the
Yeah.
COVID mandate in, it was an 80-hour thing. And I thought we would be reimbursed if we kept track of that by our employees.
If
Really
we-
what we're doing now.
If
is
we
we're-
reported to, I beg your pardon.
So what
if
we're
we
doing now, go ahead, you go. Your turn, you go.
If we reported to you at the time that that was a reimbursable expense, then that was correct. And George has much better recall than I do. So,
So
yes,
we're gonna be the one paying from now until March if they use it.
we would not be paid. We would not be reimbursed for the hours between now and March because this is a matter of local policy. It's not a federal or any government mandate.
And question, we're also saying that they're going to be using their own leave time or PPO time that's in excess that they would be losing, right? As of the first year, if you get over 240 hours, you lose it.
Yes, that's a separate issue.
So what we're saying is if they take off of COVID, we wouldn't necessarily take those hours away from them. They could apply that to their time off on COVID.
This board has already decided not to take up the issue of waiving for 1 year the 240-hour carryover limit. That's a separate issue. This is a separate bank that was given to employees at the time that the federal statute was implemented. It would not carry over because the federal legislation requiring it has expired. You as a board, however, can make a local policy to carry over until any date, but I'm proposing the end of March, any remaining hours of those 80 that folks still have on the books to be used for the same COVID-related purposes.
Okay. Yeah.
Tracy, anybody who has a COVID event now does not get any leave.
What they would have to do, if you do not approve this, they would be using their own leave that they might have accrued. However, not everyone, say our part-time employees accrue leave at a lower rate. We have some employees that don't get any benefits, including paid leave. Those folks, it would be entirely unpaid leave.
Okay.
John, I think what you're saying, Tracy, is for the 2,080 hours that we've used from February or whatever that was enacted, March, April, our 49 employees used 2,080 hours. If you took that 49 people, we would still maybe be on the hook for about 1,800 hours that we could pay between now and March, and the county would pay that, not being reimbursed.
Yes.
Yep, they use that up. So the federal government's not going to pay us anymore for this. We're just going to continue it on for them for 3 months.
I have no indication that the federal government, for any reason, would step up and pay that. You're right. It is an additional assistance we would be providing our county employees as we all manage this COVID situation.
Mr. Chair, it's Sheriff, if I could chime in for a second on this topic.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a lot of young employees that don't have a big time bank built up. I have had 5 employees come down with COVID. I still have 1 out. He's only been with me about 2.5 years, so he doesn't have a large bank. He got sick, diagnosed on Christmas Day. And so he could have come back tonight. I talked to him. He is still under the weather. I do not want him in the office. If he can't come back in tonight and it lingers into the weekend, he would exhaust potentially with Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 60 hours out of his bank. And he does have some time left in it if the COVID time is granted. If he doesn't, it'll come out of his sick time and it'll basically deplete his time. And I have a lot of young employees that have very few hours built up yet in their banks. So my guys are at exposure all the time dealing with the public, even though they mask up and do the best they can. I've had 5 come down with it. I think there's been 4 of us have had to quarantine because of a family member that's done it and benefited from the COVID time too. So thank you.
All righty, any other discussion? I think we're still looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we allow the employees to use their COVID time that they may not have used up from the beginning of the year till March. At the end of March, Tracy, was it?
Yes, March 31st. And I would suggest, George, that we add to that motion this being specific that it's for those same COVID-related reasons.
Exactly. That's my point.
I just have one question. Has anybody abused any of this? Like just said they had it and really didn't, and just kind of melted, or has it been pretty honest, everybody?
Jan, at the sheriff's. Go ahead, Tracy.
Go ahead, Mike.
I don't think the police will, but I wondered about the county.
Well, at the sheriff's office, let me tell you what I've asked them to do. They have to bring me in some type of documentation if they or a family member has COVID to show me. Not that I don't trust my employees, but that just covers me. And, so that's how I've done it. Or if they're exposed at work and have to quarantine, I know that based on information in a report. So.
Okay.
Jan, for the rest of the folks, for those that have tested positive, I've received other verification. I have not asked for, the test result. I've received verification from others that has satisfied me. For example, when some court folks had the issue, I heard from the chief judge. When we had an issue in one of our elected officials' offices, I heard from that elected official. I was satisfied with that. In terms of the folks who must be out for close contacts, those decisions generally run through either me or Jennifer Wood. I get the department heads, calling me, and I know Jennifer Wood has the same situation up in the courts, and we really talk it through. Also, if we have someone in our building who has been diagnosed as positive, we are required to do contact tracing. That is to identify everyone on our staff or in our building who has had close contact with that individual. So, I'm aware of some decisions that folks have made about contact that they've had that strikes me as perhaps unwise, but I am not aware of any abuse of this because there's so much verification. And the parents who are home with children schooling or daycare, I've never had reason to question that.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion from Bailey. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Commissioner Bunting. Any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Limmerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Smith,
Mouth back, yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Bailey, yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I ask, just as a kind of a mechanical matter here, may I and would this board approve of my drafting a policy that incorporates these concepts, have the chair review the actual text that it captures what this board has decided, and then allow the chair to sign that policy? That's my suggestion, and I would be asking for your approval.
That would be fine, but I'd ask that it come back before the board.
Okay, but Mr. Chair, I am free though to continue allowing the use of that leave time meanwhile.
Right, the motion was passed.
Good, very good. Okay, thank you.
Can I add one more thing to this COVID-19? I think it is a good idea that we do keep some kind of documentation of those who have had it and are over it, only because in the future, down the road, maybe a year from now, if something else comes about this virus, that we know who's had it and maybe a couple of times have had it. They don't know. They're saying now there's another strand of it and it's even worse yet. So it's just good to know who is getting it and how many times and when they got it, maybe the time of the year and stuff like that. I just think that might be a good idea. And maybe the different departments do that already. I don't know.
No, they don't, because we caution folks not to get into the business of dealing with anyone's health records. The health department, all positive cases are reported to our health department. When we identify the close contacts in our building, we send that list to the health department. So, these things need to be handled.
Okay, so it is being documented to the health department. That's what I wondered.
And we assume people and their personal physicians.
Okay.
One thing I believe we skipped over was attachment A here, committee assignments. One question I had here, the East Michigan Council of Governments, we pulled out of that, right, George?
Yes.
Okay, so that wouldn't be there. I would like to propose on Commissioner Lemmerman that we put him in the committees that Commissioner Lambert was serving on, without objection.
I'll so move that.
Okay, all right, do we need a motion on that? Probably we should.
No, well,
I believe I can appoint it, can I?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you appoint it. You don't.
Yeah.
as chairman,
Okay.
you have, that's your authority.
All right. So why don't we proceed with that way? And then we're up to unfinished business. Anyone know any unfinished business?
Let me think.
Then we're up to additional public comment. Anyone online? Or anyone else like to make comment?
I'm not seeing anybody.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Without objection, then we're adjourned.